Adesowa was born with a silver spoon. From a young age, life seemed to bend in her favor. Her father was a wealthy businessman. Her mother, a respected socialite. Adesowa grew up surrounded by chandeliers, weekend trips abroad, and the kind of luxury most people only dream about. People often said, that girl has it all. Beauty, brains, and wealth. By the time she was 24, she had not only inherited her father's empire but multiplied it through smart investments. Everyone admired her. But behind her success, one truth remained: she longed for a family of her own. One day, she met David. To Adesowa, meeting David felt like destiny. He was charming and supportive. Unlike most men who were intimidated by her wealth, David embraced it. Adesowa, who was eager, introduced David to her parents just weeks after meeting him. They accepted him, and soon, they started planning their wedding. It was the talk of the town. Royalty, politicians, and celebrities filled the hall. Cameras flashed, as Adesowa, glowing in a diamond-studded gown, smiled beside her husband. She was convinced life was finally complete. But years passed, and no child came. The first year, people congratulated them with patience. Don't worry, children will come. The second year, whispers began. Is something wrong? By the third year, the whispers had turned to sharp tongues. What kind of woman is this? All the money, but no child. Adesowa tried everything. She visited fertility clinics across Nigeria, then abroad, in London, Dubai, even the United States. Each time she did, doctors smiled politely, but their reports always ended in disappointment. She went through the grueling pain of IVF injections, the endless hospital visits, the emotional rollercoaster of hoping and waiting. Each month ended in blood. Each pregnancy test returned negative. She cried in silence. Even in her palace-like home, she cried on the bathroom floor, begging God for just one cry of a baby. David, her husband, initially comforted her. He told her, "Don't worry, Adesowa. I married you for you, not for children. We will be fine." For a while, she believed him. But slowly, his patience thinned. His family pressured him daily. His mother sneered whenever she saw Adesowa. His sisters openly mocked her. What's the point of all this wealth if she can't even produce one child? Adesowa buried herself in work. She expanded her business, opened new branches, and grew her wealth even more. Outwardly, she looked powerful. But inside, she was dying. She would come home to silence, the silence of an empty nursery she had prepared years ago, painted in soft blues and pinks, toys still in their wrappings. The day David snapped, he came home drunk. He yelled at her. "How long do you expect me to keep defending you? My friends mock me, my family mocks me. Am I a man without a legacy?" Adesowa begged him with tears streaming down her face. But his anger grew. Days later, he moved out. Weeks later, she discovered her bank account had been drained of millions. David had taken the money and disappeared with another woman, the one who could give him the children he craved. That betrayal shattered Adesowa more than any failed IVF cycle. She withdrew from society. Rumors spread in the newspapers. Headlines mocking her for being the billionaire without an heir. she became desperate. Desperation turned to obsession. One night, she sat in her car outside a hospital, shaking. Nurse Maria, a trusted worker there, whom she had known for years, had agreed to meet her. "Madam," Maria whispered, glancing around, "there are ways to have a child. Not through doctors, but through arrangements. If you are ready, I can help." Adesowa looked at her with hollow eyes. "I would do anything," she said. Days later, fate presented what seemed like an opportunity. A young mother named Kemi came into the hospital in heavy labor. After hours of painful cries, she gave birth to twins. Joy filled the hospital room. Nurses congratulated her as she held both babies to her chest. But in the shadows, Nurse Maria watched. She slipped into the room later, lifted one of the twins quietly, and hurried to the bathroom. She placed the baby into a small carrier and called Adesowa. "It's time. Come quickly." Adesowa rushed to the hospital, her heart pounding. When she entered the dim corridor, Maria handed her the carrier. For the first time in her life, Adesowa looked into the face of a baby she could call hers. Tears gushed down her cheeks. She kissed the child, whispering, "Finally, finally, my baby." But what she didn't know was that another nurse, Grace, had been watching all along. Suspicious of Maria's movements, Grace had alerted the doctor, who immediately called the police. Just as Adesowa turned to leave, police officers surrounded her. "Madam Adesowa, Nurse Maria, you are both under arrest for attempted child theft." The words rang in her ears like a death sentence. The baby was snatched from her arms, returned to the screaming mother, who wept in both shock and relief. Adesowa collapsed to the floor, clutching her chest. "Please. Please, you don't understand. This is all I've ever wanted. Just one baby." But her cries could not change the truth. The scandal broke the internet. News outlets splashed her face across every screen. Billionaire businesswoman arrested in baby theft scandal. Friends distanced themselves. Business partners cancelled contracts. Her empire began to crumble. Weeks later, she stood in court, her head bowed, handcuffed. The judge's voice echoed in the silent courtroom. "Money can build houses, but it cannot buy a child. Madam Adesowa, in your desperation, you crossed a line that can never be erased. A child is not property, it is a gift." She broke down in uncontrollable sobs. The woman who once had the world at her feet was now reduced to nothing but a prisoner, haunted by the silence she had always dreaded. The silence of a life without a child's cry. Her mansion, her cars, her jewelry, none of it mattered anymore. For years, people had envied her, but now, she was pitied. In the cold of prison, she lay awake at night, listening to the faint cries of babies from the maternity ward across the street. Each cry was like a dagger to her heart. The cry she never heard in her own home. The cry she had tried to steal. And so her story became a warning. Desperation without faith leads to destruction. Every child deserves to be loved, not stolen.